Alright. Zach, man, I really like your stuff. This is not like me trying to put my schlong in your channel, but I figured I saw a lot of your guys in your chat begging for someone to bring up the context, so I figured I'd fill them in on the context. It kind of felt a little bit like half of them didn't even know what they were talking about. Alright, so the hat that you have advertised, and no, I'm not playing Zach's video. I don't have his permission to play his video. I'm not even going to bother trying to because he'd probably lose it in his messages somewhere. So just kind of get the F over it, right? But what you said isn't wrong, alright? When someone says something like this, it absolutely can increase tensions between factions. Actually, the only thing that makes this towards one faction or the other is actually the color of the hat. If you were to do this with like a black hat or like a white hat or something like that, so I don't know, I don't even know if those are politically neutral, but like a politically neutral color, it'd just be like, it basically scream that you're just a domestic terrorist, right? Like, duh. But kind of feel like the context and the history of the hat matters, as well as where we're at today, which wasn't really covered in your video. So I felt like I should kind of give a little bit of a history lesson here for those people in your thing that were just saying, oh, this was absolutely political. Yes, it was political. It was a hat that was made by Brandon Herrera, so people have a little bit more context here. If you go onto the website, bunkerbranding.co, you have this little tab here, and it's got a buttload of influencers here. I see people that I like. I see the fat electrician. There's Brandon Herrera right there, the AK guy. You got Scott from Kentucky Ballistics, Donut Operator, the Unsubscribed podcast. Like, you know, they're not bad guys, right? So they actually have some pretty good stuff. Some of which, by the way, despite the fact that they're good people, some of their stuff they can't put on YouTube for, like, obvious reasons, right? So at the end of the day, really, this isn't really Matt's fault, per se. I don't know how he has his company set up, because, these guys could have absolutely had, like, 100%, like, free reign to make whatever they want on this store. Like, no doubt. But I also feel like, to a certain degree, this more falls to, like, Brandon's poor messaging. But at the same time, I need to kind of point out to you the fact that this hat is almost, like, 6 months to a year old. So back about a year ago, we had this. Texas District 23 between Brandon Herrera and this representative of Tony Gonzalez, right? So what happened was, this was kind of a kerfuffle that happened over a lot of people not agreeing with what Tony Gonzalez had voted for. Now, by the way, as you can see, Tony Gonzalez is a Republican. He claims to be anyway. Now, Brandon Herrera primaried him in his own district, in his own party, which means that they're both Republicans, right? So the hat's red. It just kind of makes sense at that point. But once you get into the rhetoric of it, well, yeah, it's still inflammatory. But so's a lot of political speech. Now, what does this do to Matt as far as his credibility on being non-political on his YouTube channel? Well, his YouTube channel is perfectly fine. Probably the closest thing to political you're going to get is that YouTube video that you found where he was, like, sticking a middle finger to YouTube, pretty much. I gotta adjust that camera. I kind of feel like it keeps... I think the arm that's holding this thing up is loose again. I have to tear the whole thing apart and redo it. But at the end... yeah, cryptologist, that's funny. I wonder what that actually means. I'm going to Google that later. But back to the point at hand. I'm getting sidetracked. My ADHD must be kicking in. So, like, when you click on hat, I actually took the time to do a little bit of research. And at least on the first page, this hat's not here. The reason this hat is not here may have to do with the fact of what happened this weekend. Absolutely. Humor me, though. Okay, let's see. do they have something that like shows the entirety of like everything they got? Let's see. Matt, man, there's no way this is all you've got, man. Okay, let's see. Whoa. Well, he doesn't have that much stuff, so yeah, I mean, sure. On the website where he's selling stuff, that is linked to his YouTube, but it's not exactly directly a part of his YouTube. Bunker branding is something that he advertises as an income. I'd say that, yeah, he probably should have kept a closer eye on his stock and his inventory. And as soon as Brandon's campaign here was done, it probably should have been yoinked. That's a question that only Matt's going to know, or the person who yoinked it off of the site, right? I don't work for him. Fun fact, I live in Maine, not Texas. Sometimes I really wish I didn't live in Maine every time my governor opens her mouth. Anyway, my point is that yes, the historical context matters, but not directly to the point about the political violence. I don't think it's fair to sit here and say that, oh, well, Matt shouldn't have a hat like this on his website when he's saying he's not political, when he's just recently been not political, well, not really directly political, in the presidential sense of the word, but more so in the 23rd district that he currently lives in, or, well, that Brandon Herrera currently lives in. I don't know if Matt actually lives in the 23rd or not. That would be another question that would probably fall under, is this doxing, is this not? I only know that Brandon falls under the 23rd district because that's where he was, obviously. Unless I'm missing something, and down there in Texas, you don't actually have to live in a district to compete politically in it. That is a question for your guys' Republican Party and your state government and stuff. I have no idea. I don't live in Texas. I don't really think that it's fair for anyone to point to Matt for any of this, really. This does kind of fall to Brandon. But look, in all fairness, Brandon's a pretty spicy guy when it comes to some of his content. We're talking about the guy who, like, what was it, like, maybe at maximum, like, 2 months after the death of Shinzo Abe, recreated the functionality of the homemade weapon. That's spicy, but what's spicier is what happened in the video. That he almost blew himself up with it, basically. I mean, let's just say it out loud so we can understand it. He probably made the hat because it probably sounded like it would win him a couple of brownie points in the 23rd district. He didn't make the hat with the intention of someone going off the rails and doing that. And he probably didn't even enter his mind, because this is not a... Look, here in the United States, it is not normal to have a nutter go off his nut and try to off a politician like that. I mean, I'm sure there are nutters who do, but they're usually stopped so fast that it doesn't even really hit the news. Like, it's just... that, and I feel like... And Zach's, if he ever sees this, is probably going to say you're a fucking idiot for saying this, but I also kind of feel like there's a very, like, large majority of people out there that are willing to something like that, or something like that. Wow, this is terrible. My stream is totally going to get BFO'd over this, because it's just... It's like the CloudStrike stuff is still affecting me for some reason. I don't know why it would. It didn't do anything up here when it was going on. What's going on, guys? Your maintenance sucking or something? Anyway, back to what I was saying. There is a political history behind the hat. The hat was made, and everyone in Bunker Branding, when Brandon Herrera was doing his thing, was saying, hey, go check out Brandon Herrera, the AK guy, because, or some people also like to call him AK Jesus, because he's running against this Republican who voted for gun control, even though he said that he wouldn't. He's a two-faced backstabbing, yada yada. You get the drift, right? I mean, you get where it goes. So, like, yeah, everyone on that thing had made a comment at some point. Go check out our friend Brandon Herrera. Sorry, Brandon, I'm not trying to lump you two together. But this was literally just a hat that was made for a political campaign where he was literally trying to inspire people to make Tony Gonzalez afraid of losing his seat. Was it worded poorly? Absolutely. There's a million and one better ways to put that. Another way to do that is make America gun friendly again, or something like that, right? Like, there's like a billion and one ways to do that in a way that's not, I don't know, asinine is a good word, and potentially dangerous. But I did point out, when you go into Demolition Ranch, this is why I hate Twitter, right? This is my big beef with Twitter. Whenever you put something up there, right, it stays there for fucking ever. But I figured, for future context, the hat isn't actually there. There are only 8 hats up here. And I'll even pull up Brandon Herrera just to double check. Yeah, the hat is gone. The person whose selling profile on this page, the hat is gone. Alright, just so people chill. There is no more make politicians afraid again hat. And it was probably in poor taste. And to kind of add, like, context as to the AK Guy's content. We're talking about someone, and to those who don't know who this guy is, this is a shirt about a guy who killed another guy who R-worded his daughter. More or less. And the father of the daughter, when the guy was in cuffs, imitated being on a payphone. And to those who don't know what a payphone is, I can't believe I have to do this, you have to put coins in it to make a phone call. It usually has a booth somewhere. Well, this one was in, like, I want to say, like, a train station or bus station or something. And so this guy knew where the guy was, where he was going to be, and answered the phone. And while he was, when he had the phone in his hand, the guy simultaneously, like, does a James Bond shot under his friggin' thing, and game ends the guy through his watermelon, basically. Which is a way of saying something that I really can't say too loudly on YouTube, but you get the point. So yeah, AK Guy, Brandon Herrera, he's not afraid to post spicy stuff. Does this make fathers that sit there and think, yeah, well, gee, if someone did that to my kid, I'd think about it? Maybe, probably, I don't know. I mean, I'm a dad. I look at the shirt, and I see a shirt that has a historical reference on it, so I obviously probably am not, like, wired that way in the brain, but there's probably people out there who are. And there again, he's allowed to put on his shirt, like, whatever he wants. Sorry, Brandon, I know this is probably, like, free advertising or something like that. I'm not trying to drag you through the mud or nothing, but, like, sometimes you say some spicy stuff, man. So back to Zach. Zach, love your content. I think probably the intellectually dishonesty in your chat did get to you a little bit and made you kind of skip over, like, maybe the history of the hat, when was the hat made, who actually made the hat, and actually you weren't so much talking about the hat. And yeah, your guy who said it's just a hat, absolutely, but I gotta ask you a question, and this one's probably gonna get me banned. If I wore a skin shirt that had, like, a bunch of naked chicks on it, are you gonna look? Like, I mean, come on. If I wore a hat that had something else on it, clothing articles like this are designed to get your attention and say something, right? In the case of the skin shirt that I was just talking about, it is because you're advertising someone who isn't wearing any clothes. I mean, duh. And in the case of, the actual skin brand, it's because you're doing both. You're advertising that, the thing that I mentioned before, but you're also advertising the skin brand for them. And it works. It is an effective market strategy. This hat could theoretically do the same thing. There were a lot of people in the 23rd District on Twitter and on social media that were interviewed by people in the news when this whole political primary happened who could not stand Tony Gonzalez because of his voting record, which is fine. And again, that stupid bolt, I'm going to have to tighten it. What does this have to do with Matt? Well, he owns the company that hosted the hat. Okay. And when did he take down the hat? I mean, it's not there now. It just showed you it's not there now. So I'm sitting here like, yeah, okay, you can call that a political product that was made for one of his friends who was running for Congress. I mean, sure, say politics if you want, but if my friend was running for a political office and I had a clothing company where I could make a hat for him or a shirt for him, I'd make a hat and a shirt for him. I'd probably just be a little bit more careful than the company was about this. Is it Matt's fault? How does the approval process roll? Did he know about the hat until, yeah. I don't know. There's too many assumptions to make to assume that he really approved the hat and that we know he approved the hat because we're not involved in the structure of the company. If you want to know the answer to that, get on Twitter, go to Demolition Ranch Zach, and ask Matt himself. He will explain how that works, I'm sure. Unless it's some proprietary AI BS, I can about guarantee you he'd probably get out there and say, yeah, I know about the hat. We took it down as soon as Brandon Herrera lost his campaign against Tony back in May. I know the hat was in poor taste. The pictures that are floating around of it are from that time period, or something along those lines. Or maybe he'd sit there and he'd probably call it Brandon Herrera, and he probably saw what happened over the weekend and saw his name associated with it and said, why is this hat still here? Brandon hasn't had a campaign for 2 months basically, and it's in poor taste given recent events. Duh. Let's take this hat down and put up something else that's more appropriate to the time. I don't know. This is just giant assumption here, but they're reasonable assumptions to make either way. Anyway, this was supposed to just be a 10-minute whatever, not 20. But just don't. I think it should be said, don't try to drag Matt into this with this stupid crap. Yeah, he had a hat on there that was promoting his friend politically who was running for Congress. Yes, it had some inflammatory words on it. Find me someone who hasn't at some point said something that was innocuous but ended up being inflammatory. Some people like me are inflammatory on purpose to get a point across because we're jerks. Sometimes being inflammatory comes back to haunt us quite a bit. Actually, not just sometimes. It actually happens quite a bit. I've said stuff that not on YouTube, but I have said stuff in public that has had me confronted by police officers before, and my only real defense for it was I have a freedom of speech. What are you going to do about it, basically? The reality is that I was right on my point, wrong on how I was presenting it, and that's kind of what this hat does. It's right on the point, but wrong on presentation. Politicians should be afraid of losing their jobs, absolutely. But it should be specified that when we say stuff like this, it's directed at the fact that they could be removed from their office courtesy of being voted out, not through violent means. That, I think that should be said, but I think a lot of people on the right get kind of comfortable with the way society is and feel like they don't have to say that, whereas people on the left actually have people out there screaming for political violence, so they literally feel the need to, at the end of like every sentence, basically say, I'm not advocating for violence, because there are literally people that go out there and claim to be a part of their party and do the exact same thing that they're trying to denounce, right? So that there's that too. And we could go off on this stuff for like days, and I'm not going to, unless someone gets into my channel and says do it about 500,000 times, and then alright, I guess we can dig through Twitter and I don't want to do it. Don't make me do it, please. It's torture. I have like 1,000,001 other things that I need to do, including actually my kid's birthday coming right up. Just no, please. Please, don't do that. But anyway, yeah, no, hey, again, I'm not trying to kiss your backside here, but I actually really do like your content. Like, I'm not even a World of Warcraft fan. I actually kind of hate playing the game, but I really like watching people play it. I know that sounds so bizarre, but it's just like, it's entertaining to watch people play. I just can't play the stupid game. I'm sorry, it puts me to sleep. I get either confused and lost and disoriented, and then I fall asleep because I'm listening to the background music or something like that, or there's something else going on in the house that's making me either fall asleep or lose interest. Anyway, off topic, ADHD moment. But yeah, Matt, you're great. Zach, you're great. I don't have a problem with either one of you, and I don't think there should be a beef. And your chat, Zach, should absolutely understand what they're talking about before they start flapping their gums. But we don't live in a perfect world, and there is a little thing called freedom of speech, so, like, trust me, I understand. I've said stupid things, I've done stupid things, I've had to respond to stupid things as well. IRL, not online. I don't have a big enough presence online to respond to stupidity like that, and to be honest with you, I'd probably do a worse job of it, telling them to go get effed somewhere. But, like, if I had a chat like you do on Twitch, I'll be honest, there's a reason I'm not on Twitch, alright? I tried doing Kick for a while, I just, for whatever reason, I can't do the streaming on those two platforms and maintain it. I don't understand why, it's just a mental defect, I guess. But, anyway, yeah, that about sums it up, you know, kind of a PSA to the people of the public. Don't just go off of stupid posts on Twitter. Do your research or know what you're talking about before you start questioning stuff. Like, don't... And when someone says something that should be kind of friggin' obvious, like the fact that this can inflame tensions and cause someone to go off their, you know, who may actually already be off their nuts to go further into the deep end, basically, you know, just stop being stupid. Unless you're trolling, that's a different thing. If you're trolling, Zach's probably going to ban you just because it's annoying. And I don't blame him. Like, I enjoy watching him do it, actually. It's kind of one of the parts I like the most about his channel is when he pulls you up, calls you on your stupidity, and then bans you for it. I think that's great. Now, if this does get to Zach, I'm not trying to rake you through the coals or nothing. That's not what the purpose of this video is. Like I said, I actually really enjoy your content, and I hope you keep on keeping on. I don't see you stopping any day soon. Hopefully everyone has a lovely day, and I'm going to get off of here and go enjoy my day. Probably going to go get something to eat. Might even go get some Subway or something. Oh, God, that's a terrible idea. I just realized why that's a terrible idea because of what my name is. Maybe some Dunkin' Donuts. I haven't had some Dunkin' for a while. Or maybe just a fruit smoothie. Anyway, who knows? Alright, I'll catch you guys on the flip.